Coming into last season as one of the top prospects in baseball, Bobby Witt Jr. was set to be a huge part of the Kansas City Royals' future. In his rookie season, he'd play in 150 games and already showcased some of the skills that made him such an exciting prospect, with both the power and speed to join the 2020 club with 20 homers and 30 stolen bases. But with a slash line of 254, 294, 428, good for a 722 OPS, a 98 WRC+, and 2.3 FWAR, Witt still had plenty of room to improve heading into his second season. The flashes of potential were there, and how much he could refine his game to let these strengths come out more consistently would be a big part of his development heading into his second season. And Witt has definitely improved his game this year. In 147 games, bumping up his slash line to 278, 320, 496, good for an 816 OPS, 115 WRC+, and 5.5 FWAR. With 29 home runs and 48 stolen bases, he's been one of the biggest power speed threats in baseball, and a couple adjustments that Witt's made this year have made a huge difference in his game overall. So what adjustments did Bobby Witt Jr. make this year? How have they helped him improve his game so much? And where can he still work to improve? Let's go ahead and answer these questions, but before we do, please consider liking this video, subscribing, and turning on notifications to make sure you don't miss out on any future baseball videos like this one. Across MLB, pitchers go to the fastball about 50% of the time, and with the average velocity only continuing to go up, you'd better be ready to hit that fastball. And in his rookie season last year, Witt struggled with handling major league fastballs, only managing a 239 batting average, 422 slugging, and 308 WOBA on fastballs. Now, Witt was still hitting these pretty hard. On four-seamers, he averaged about 92.5 miles per hour, but he was just getting underneath these with a 19-degree launch angle, which usually happens when you're a little late and behind the ball. His timing just wasn't quite there on these fastballs, so he couldn't use the power in his bat as well as he could have when he's popping it up just a little too much. But on top of this, pitchers could get these heaters by him. Witt was whiffing 25.2% of the time on fastballs last year, and all these swings and misses led to a 28.3% strikeout rate. So pitchers knew they didn't have to go to their secondary pitches to try to get Bobby Witt out. They could attack him with fastballs, and he was either going to be behind them and pop it up, or just miss it entirely. But after getting to see major league heaters for a full season last year, it looks like he's getting his timing more here in his second season. In 2023, Witt's had a 304 batting average, 545 slugging, and 381 WOBA on fastballs. A huge step forward from last year, and crushing fastballs like this is gonna force pitchers to go deeper in their bag and throw more secondary pitches they might not be as comfortable with. Now, his success on heaters this year isn't just because he's hitting them harder. In fact, on four-seamers, he's down about a half a mile an hour, but his timing has been better and he's hitting more line drives instead of popping it up as much. And being more on time with the fastballs has led not only to him hitting them better, but he's not whiffing on them as much this year at 22.1% of the time, which has dropped his strikeout percentage on these down to 23.8. With fastballs being the most commonly thrown pitch in baseball and the pitch that most pitchers are most comfortable with, you have to be able to handle the heater, and Bobby Witt has made the adjustment to start crushing fastballs and force pitchers to go to their second, third, and even fourth pitches. Now, along with this and some other minor adjustments to his offensive game, which have helped him make a huge leap forward this year, the biggest jump in his game has been on the other side of the ball. Having the kind of power-speed combo that Bobby Witt has at a premier defensive position like shortstop makes him insanely valuable for the Royals. But that all comes down to whether his defense is good enough to stick at shortstop. And in his first season, Witt's defense at shortstop was a huge liability. There were 24 guys with at least 800 innings at shortstop last season, and his negative 18 defensive runs saved ranked 24th, his negative 8.7 UZR per 150 was 21st, his negative 9 outs above average had him 23rd, and his Fangraphs overall defense was the worst of this group. This was a huge hit to his overall value last year, because if you're playing left field or first base, your defense isn't a huge priority as long as you can swing it. But if you're at shortstop or center field, then you better be able to field the position. So as one of the worst defenders at shortstop last year, this had to be a huge focus for him this offseason. So now looking at this year, there are 20 qualified shortstops, and Bobby Witt ranks 18th with -5 defensive runs saved, 12th with negative .3 UZR per 150, then 4th with 12 outs above average, and his overall defense according to Fangraphs. So depending on which advanced fielding stat you look at, Witt's taken anywhere from a small to a gigantic step forward with his defense. Baseball Savant has his outs above average going from the 2nd percentile last year to the 98th this year. So if we assume that it's probably somewhere in the middle, it's safe to say that he's gone from one of the worst defenders at shortstop last year to at least your average defensive shortstop. And with this kind of improvement in one offseason, you have to think that we're only seeing the beginning of what he can do defensively at the position. Bobby Witt Jr.'s taken some big steps forward this year, and overall has been one of the better players in baseball, but there's still a part of his game that he could improve on to completely unlock his potential. So now we need to talk about his approach at the plate. Witt is a pretty aggressive hitter at the plate that has the bat to ball skills to avoid striking out, but by being a bit overly aggressive, he's limiting himself at the plate a bit. The first problem with being overly aggressive is when you start looking outside the strike zone. And Witt lowered his chase rate a bit this year from last year, but he's still a little chase happy. And he's gonna turn some of these balls out of the zone into strikes, which keeps him from taking that free base on a walk when he probably should. As a hitter, you don't want to help out the pitcher, and you should just take the walk when it's there. But also when you're swinging more often, it means that you're trying to hit more of whatever the pitcher's throwing you instead of hitting the pitches that you're looking for. And this makes it tougher to get your timing right and really square the ball up. Both years he's been in the major leagues, Witt has posted a max exit velo at least in the 90th percentile. But with how often he's willing to swing the bat, it makes it tougher for him to square the ball up consistently, where he's been below average in line drives both years and uses power consistently, where he's only managed to get his exit velo, barrel percentage, and hard hit percentage into the 70s for percentile rankings this year. There's a reason why we feel like the Greek god of hitting when we're in the batting cages, because we know what's coming and we've timed ourselves up for it. And it's the same with a live pitcher. If we time ourselves up for the pitch that we want to hit, we're in a better spot to crush it when we get it. It's on you as a hitter to make sure that early in a count or when you're ahead, that you're only going after pitches that you know you can hit well, so that you give yourself the best chance to do damage. And you make it way harder to do that if you're trying to hit almost every pitch that's close. It's really difficult to be timed up for a 98-mile-per-hour fastball and a 79-mile-an-hour curveball at the same time, let alone you throw in a slider, a changeup, and then some other kind of fastball. Bobby Witt Jr. broke into the major leagues last year with an insane amount of potential, and it's up to him to have to live up to that potential and make the adjustments that he needs to take his game to the next level. In his rookie season, he showed all of us the flashes of brilliance that could make him one of the best players in the league, and this year, he's taken a huge step towards becoming that. So it's really exciting to see where he's going to take his game going forwards. Witt has some incredible strengths, but just like any player, there's still room for improvement. So now let me know what you think about all this by dropping a comment down below. What's Bobby Witt improved this year? What does he still need to work on? And how good of a player do you think he'll end up being? If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications to make sure you don't miss out on any future baseball videos like this one, and it helps the channel to reach more baseball fans. You can help support the channel by checking out our merch, the link to our stores down in the description, or simply by watching our latest video next that's on your screen now, about the Milwaukee Brewers pitching that's been a big part of their success and how far it can take them in this year's playoffs. And as always, thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. Have an awesome day. Later.